Now you are clear about the Poisson's equation and Laplace equation. 1, 2, 3 dimensions, all three. And then how it will help us to solve the electrostatic problems. You know, in case of Laplace equation, if it is one dimensional and there is only one variable, means it will go for what kind of materials if it is one dimension. If it is 2 dimension 2, if it is 3 dimension 3, right? And you know the equation, then what kind of materials they will represent if it is 1 dimension, 2 dimension and 3 dimension. In 1 dimension obviously it is linear, right? In one direction only the material is existing, but if it is 2, area, surface, but when it is 3, it is volume, and the reality is the 3 dimension. Unless one dimension is excluded, neglected in comparison to the other 2, you have to accept it that it is all the time 3 dimensional, right? Like for example, you are telling if you are telling thin film, what do you mean by thin film? Is it 2 dimensional or 3 dimensional or 1 dimensional? Why it is 2 dimensional? Never no material is existing with 2 dimension, right? Never no material is existing in 2 dimension. Then how we are telling that it is 2 dimension, and why? Yes, but you can never tell that it is really 2 dimension. That is virtual. You are accepting that the limitation is small enough in comparison to the other 2. Otherwise, it is 3 dimensional. Similarly, if it is 1 dimensional, you are neglecting the other 2, right? So the reality is all the time 3 dimensional. That depends whether you are neglecting how many components with respect to that one, whether it is 1 dimension or 2 dimension, right? So when you are telling thin film, what do you mean by thin film? When you will tell the film is thin, whether you will accept it for any thickness or there is some limitation. The sheet is, if you take a paper, is it a thin film? Paper is having area and thickness, right? So obviously 3 dimension. But can you accept that as a thin film? Because the thickness is clearly visible to us. How can you neglect? Or not? Thickness is visible or invisible? Then how can you neglect the dimension? You can neglect if it is not visible to you, right? In comparison to the others. Others we can see, but that one we cannot see. In that circumstance, you can tell that we can neglect that dimension because it is not visible to us with respect to the other 2, right? Then what should be the thickness of a thin film? Can you see the micrometer? Millimeter? Millimeter you can see. Up to what length you can see? Micro? 10 micro? 10 micron. Micrometer is micron. That means 10 to the power minus 6 meter. Can you see it? 10 micron, yes. 10 to the power minus 5, can you see? Can you see that thickness? Can you imagine what that thickness is? 1 millimeter, you might have seen the scale. Huh? Yes, 0.1 mm, right? Up to that only you can see if it is a normal eye, right? If the eye is normal, then the resolution will be 0.1 millimeter, right? So then if that much thickness is there, and in paper it is there or not? In paper sheet, it is there, so that is why you are observing there is some thickness, right? But if you go beyond that, below that, then you cannot see, right? Then what should be the thickness, which you can never see, but it is existing? The materials are existing, but you can never measure the thickness or you can never visualize. That can be accepted to be the thin film, right? Thin film does not mean that it is only having a particular thickness, but the limit starts from where? Which we cannot see, visualize, right? 100 nanometer is 10 angstrom. 10 angstrom you can see. So if you tell 1 nanometer, then it is how much? 10 angstrom, same thing, right? 1 nanometer is 10 angstrom, right? That means the thickness will be how much? 10 atoms together. 1 atom is 1 angstrom, right? 1 atom is 1 angstrom. So in a nanometer length, how many atoms are accommodated? 10, right? Then if you will go for 2 nanometer, then it will be 20 angstrom. So 20 atoms. one by one if you put them, then how many atoms can be accommodated in that height of 20 nanometer, sorry 2 nanometer, 20 atoms, right. So, if you take layer by layer, one layer of atom is having thickness 1 angstrom, then how many such layers you will put together so that you can accept that to be a thin film, atomic layers. Up to what maximum limit you can go, so that you can tell that is a thin film, which you can never visualize, but atoms are existing. Atoms are there means material is there, right, but that we cannot visualize in comparison to the other two dimensions. Other two are in centimeter, meter, whatever it may be, does not matter. But that third dimension which you are neglecting should go to what limit, so that you can tell yes, this is a thin sheet or thin film. How many? 1000 atoms. You are telling 1000 layers or 1000 atoms. Each layer is having thickness of 1 atom. 1 atom. 1 atom is 1 angstrom. 1 atom diameter is 1 angstrom. So, 100,000 such layers are there, atomic layer. If 1000, then how much nanometer? 100 nanometer. So, if 100 nanometer thickness, then how much millimeter? Convert that to millimeter. 100 nanometer is how much millimeter? Is it beyond 0.1 millimeter or above it? Below or above? Limit is 0.1 millimeter, right. So, if it is 100 nanometer, then how much millimeter? 0.1 millimeter, right. So, 0.1 millimeter, that you can see, right. So, if there are 1000 layers of atoms, then only you are able to see that there is some thickness, right. But if it is below that, maybe 900 layers, maybe 990 layers, then you cannot see, right. Suppose there are 990 layers, then it is less than 0.1 mm or not. Less than 0.1 nanometer can never be resolved by our eye. That means we cannot be able to see that how many layers are there or what is the thickness. And if it is less than that, maybe 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, 50, 60, 10, 1. If such layers are there, then they are also thin film, right. Could you follow what do you mean by thin film? When the thickness are going to the order of atoms, 1 atom, 2 atom, 3 atom, 4 atom, like that you can go up to that much number of atoms, so that your eye can see, right. If there are 1000 layers of atoms, then only you are able to see that there is some material, but if it is less than that, we cannot be, we can never see that, because our eye resolution is up to only 0.1 millimeter, right. And if it is below that, then you can tell it is few angstroms you can tell or nanometers, right. So, the usual thickness is nanometer, how much you can go? Nanometer may be from 1 to 90, 95, 96, 97, but not 100, right, not 100. So, if the thickness is 1 nanometer, it is a thin film, 2 thin film, 10 thin film, 20 thin film, till 99, right. Everything is thin film, but the thickness are different, right. The thickness of the thin films are different. So, in that way, if it is thin film like that, then under that case you have to go to apply this Laplace theorem in 2 dimensions, right, where you will go for such kind of application. If that is a thin film having surface, but thickness is negligible, and that means it is usually a thin film. But if you take a thin sheet of metal, you cannot apply, right, because you cannot neglect in comparison to the other 2 dimensions, right. Suppose length is 5 centimeter, breadth is 10 centimeter, thickness is 1 centimeter. Can you neglect that thickness? Cannot. So, how can it be then 2 dimensional? So, 2 dimensional means 1 dimensional is negligible in comparison to the other 2, right. Then it must be a thin film only. And then now if you are telling it is this 3 dimension, it is all 3 dimensions are there, then that is any material you take, it has 3 dimensions, right, any material, and that is called as the bulk material, same thing, bulk, right. So, if any material is available in this form, then it is bulk. If 2, then thin film, and if 1 then linear, right. So, depending on this kind of materials you have to select what kind of Laplace equation will help you to solve the electrostatic problems, right, because if you take a wire it can be charged, linear charge density is there, right. With respect to that you have solved already the problem of potential, electric field, everything, right. Similarly, if it is a thin sheet then also you have solved taking surface charge density, right, potential and field, and similarly if it is bulk 3 dimensional also you can solve the problem with the help of this Laplacian equation. So, depending on the kind of material you have to choose what dimensional Laplace equation will help you to solve such kind of problem, right. But only problem here is that if it is 1 dimension it is easy because there are only how many variables, constants. If it is 1 dimension then how many constants you will get? It is a second order differential equation with 1 variable, right, that is d square y by dx square equal to 0, 1 dimension or 2 dimension. Laplace equation it is in 1 dimension or 2 dimension or 3, 1 dimension, only 1 variable x is there, right, because Laplace equation in general is del square f x, right. Del square f x is if 0 then it is a Laplacian equation. If you take x 1 dimension, if you take x y 2 dimension, if it is x y z it is 3 dimension. The function will define whether it were in 2 dimension, 1 dimension or 3 dimension. So, accordingly 3 sets of equations are there. So, the first order or the 1 dimension is only this, you write it as f, function f. So, obviously it is a function of what? X, right. Then it is Laplacian equation in 1 dimension. Then what is its solution? Second order differential equation. Solution will be what? Solution is f equal to how much? mx plus c, straight line. You might have solved those kind of differential equations, right. So, here how many constants? 2, right, m and c. For a straight line it is all the time defined by 2 constants, slope and the intercept. If you know them then you can construct the straight line, and the solution to this differential equation is also straight line, right. So, then now if you take, then obviously you are getting a straight line like that. So, here this is the intercept c and this is the slope m, right, and these two are constant for change in value of x. If x is changing, the function is changing, but it is changing in such a way that it is all the time controlled by these two constants. So, that m is constant, c is constant, right. Then now tell, if you are taking this 1 dimensional problem, what will happen whether the boundary is defined or undefined. Boundary means extreme, boundary means what? Maximum limit, beyond that you can never go, there is a boundary, right. So, here x value has limitation or you can go anywhere, x value can be anything or restricted, no, anything on the line, but the maximum value can be 1 only, and that is the boundary. See, here x is going, changing, here there is a value of x, here there is a value of x, but up to what? Up to only that point, but not beyond that, because here your function will vanish or not, the function will vanish at that particular value of x, right. So, what is that then? It is the boundary, right. That property is not there with any other point except that point where that x is vanished, right. But beyond that value, if you go below that value of x, then it will never vanish, it has some value but not 0, right. So, the extreme maximum can be only this value, right, maximum value can be only this, and obviously if you go for that maximum value then you can accept that as a boundary. Boundary means what? f x can never go beyond that value of x, right. If it will go beyond that, then what will happen? This is not the solution, this is not the differential equation you are solving. If it is differential equation, it must have a value of x constant, that is the intercept, right. So, that means this straight line or the solution is basically controlled by 2 constants, hence boundaries are fixed, right, boundaries are well defined. To satisfy this equation, you should have to select the two constants in such a way that it should have some meaning. Function has some meaning. If the function is meaningless, then what is the role of taking such kind of solution, right? You are using differential equation for what? You are using differential equation to solve the physical problems, right? All the differential equations are used only to solve the physical problems. But the solution is, if not having any meaning, then what is the meaning of solution? So, that indicates that if you are going to solve that kind of equation, then there will be two constants, right? And therefore, you can tell there are boundaries, right? There are boundaries. So, and that boundaries again well defined, that you know. Suppose for example, let there is a charge distribution in this limit, and you want to get a potential at this point with respect to this charge distribution, right? There is a linear charge distribution. Linear charge distribution means what? Charge density is same across the length. So, we can go this side, anywhere you can go, right? You can go anywhere, everywhere the charge density is same. Can you solve such kind of problem unless there is a boundary? No, cannot. So, there should be a boundary so that you can know how much amount of charge is accumulated within that length. Then only you can find out the potential at that point or the intensity at that point, right. So, therefore, when you are telling about solving the equation, differential equations, the boundaries are very important. What are the boundaries and what are those boundaries? How can it be defined? So, now similarly, but think about two dimension. What will happen when it is two dimension? Here it is only one variable, there will be two variable, then obviously you can tell del f by del square f by del x square plus by del y square, it must be 0 in two dimension, like thin film case, right. And if it is three dimension, then it is del square f by del x square plus del square f by del y square plus del square f by del z square equal to 0, right. Laplace equation in one dimension, two dimension, three dimension. So, depending on the situation, you have to select what kind of Laplace equation you will take to solve the problem, whether the material is bulk or thin film or linear. Material may be same. For example, if I will tell the material is copper, pure copper, right, but the problems are different. Material is same copper, but the problems are different when you are going from bulk copper to thin film copper and then linear copper. All the behavior, character, properties are different, right. All the property of a bulk copper is never matching with the property of a thin film copper, and also never matching with a linear copper, only having length. Diameter is negligible in comparison to length, then it is one dimension, right. Copper is there everywhere, copper atoms are involved everywhere, but the properties of those materials are all different. That is why the behavior of bulk is never same as the behavior of thin film, and again never same as the linear. Material may be same, atoms may be same, but their behaviors are different, right. So, behavior means I am telling any property you can take, but all the properties are different, not necessarily the optical, electrical, magnetic, mechanical, all the properties are different. If you go from 1 to 2 dimension, 2 to 3 dimension, and that is the reason why this nano is so important nowadays, right. It is the only reason why people are going for this nano. People are going for this nano because of the material character, material property. At that order length means if you can arrange 10 atoms in how much length? 1 nanometer means there are 10 atoms. If it is more than that, it is that accordingly the nanometer length will increase. So, for example, let us say this is 1 nanometer, then how many atoms will be there? Like this, 10. Then if it is 10 nanometer, 100. So, ultimately 1 nanometer is same 10, right. But if it is 1 millimeter, how many atoms? Approximately tell how many atoms are there in 1 millimeter length and 1 millimeter square area, 1 millimeter cube volume. Tell me the volume, number of atoms involved in 1 millimeter length, 1 millimeter square area, 1 millimeter cube volume. Number of atoms involved in all the cases are same or different? Different. So, obviously the interactions are different, and that interaction only gives us the properties. right? Properties are all originated from the interaction among the atoms or atomic constituents, electrons, right? All the properties, whatever it may be, but they are all originated from the interaction of the atoms or the electrons or the electron cloud, any property, whatever it may be, mechanical, thermal, electrical, magnetic, any property. So, then now think, if you are arranging 10 atoms in a length, then its interaction is much more higher in comparison to 100 atoms per same length, or not? Suppose for example, this is a length in which x length, here there are 100 atoms, right? In the same length you are putting 10 atoms, interaction is same or different? Obviously different, right? Interaction will be there, no doubt. Like for example, if there is in this classroom very few of you are present here, but if it is completely packed, interaction is different, you know it, what way it is different, right? Similarly, when atoms are put together, the same thing happens, they are interacting with each other to give the properties. So, therefore, that is the reason why when you are telling nano, that means you are coming to a length order where 10 atoms are accommodated, right? 10 atoms are accommodated, then only you can tell, because 10 atom means it is 1 nanometer, and up to what you can go? Up to 100 nanometer, that is nanoscience, everything comes under nano, right? So, if in 1 nanometer there are 10, then accordingly if you go for 100 nanometer, same 10 are there or different? Same 10, right? If in 1 nanometer 10, then 100 nanometer 100 times 10, but the arrangement and the interaction are same or different? Arrangement and interaction among the atoms are same for 1 nanometer, 2 nanometer, 3 nanometer up to 100 nanometer, or they are different? 1 nanometer length is having 10, 2 nanometer length is having 20, 3 nanometer length is having 30, so interaction is all the time same, right? That is why nanomaterials are behaving differently when it is thin film or bulk, right? When it is thin film and bulk, the atomic interactions are different, so the behaviors are different, properties are different. So, bulk copper can never be having same property as that of thin film copper, and again never same as the wire, copper wire, right. So, the behavior and the properties of any material, whatever it may be, all arises because of the interaction among the atoms or atomic entities. Atomic entities means electron cloud and the nucleus, how they are interacting with each other. Then only you can understand how that property is coming out of that material, right. If it is magnetic, same thing, electric, same thing, optical, same thing, all the properties are originated from that level only. So, you have to understand the atomic level, how they are interacting with each other if you are really interested to know about their properties, right. So, now let us say, so in this way when you are telling it is second order, 2 dimension, 3 dimension, the problems are much more complicated or not. If it is 1 dimension, there are 2 constants, you have to control them with respect to the boundary to solve the electrostatic problems, right. But if it is 2 dimension, the constant number of constant will be more than 2 or less than 2 or equal to, obviously. So, as the number of constants are more, then to define the boundaries again difficult, complicated, right. It is easy for 1 dimension, but if you go for 2 or 3, then it is going on complicating, right. But still you can solve the problem with the help of this Laplace equation, because most of the problems are 3 dimensional, right. Most of the problems are 3 dimensional, and particularly let us say if you will take the example, this is a sheet of or charge sheet, right. This is a sheet of charge. I am not telling it is thin film. Thin film is different than sheet. You know the difference what, right. Thin film means the limit is within that only, but if it is more than that, it is sheet, right. So, you can tell thin sheet which is never same as the thin film, they are different. So, now you see, if you are taking that kind of sheet, is it 2 dimension or 3 dimension? Thin sheet, 3 dimension, you cannot neglect the other dimension, third dimension, right. So, it is 3 dimension. So, when it is 3 dimension, then now let us say it is the surface charge density, sorry, here you will tell what? Volume charge density, right? Because it is 3 dimensional, bulk density. Then it is defined by this sigma or the volume charge density. Electrical property I am telling, not telling other properties, right? We are now only we are now bothered about the electrical property, forget about the other properties, but they are all going in that way only, right. So, then now see for example, if this is positively charged, so which equation will help you to get the potential with respect to that sheet of paper at any point? Electrostatic problem means the sheet is at rest, field is at rest, and you are finding the potential at any point or intensity at any point. That is the purpose of solving the electrostatic problem, right. Electrostatic problem means either you have to find the potential or the intensity with respect to a static charge distribution, right. Static means the charge should be at rest. So, the field is also at rest, right. Then how to solve this kind of problem? It will be little bit difficult, but if you know the boundary, if the boundary is well defined by you, then the problem will get easier, right. Most difficult task in solving this Laplacian equation is that the boundaries should be well defined. If the boundary you understand what happens there, for example, I am giving an example. Suppose let there is a box, right. Let there is a box. So, let us say you cut this upper side of the box like this wave. It is there in the book also, you can see this example is there, right. It is a wave. So, wave means what? In this region material is not there, you cut out that portion, and in this region, so it is having less thickness, it is having more thickness, right. So, if you take this now, if you go at this point and at this point, at this point, at this point, what will happen? Imagine, let us say you are cutting it like a wave and fitted that by a thin sheet of rubber or plastic, then what will the surface of that plastic or rubber? Is it smooth, plain, as if the box is plain, or it will change its shape? Change its shape. Why then? Why it is changing? You see, it is a box, right, but you cut that in the form of a wave. Instead of plane, you just cut the upper surface in the form of a wave. It is not a plane, right. Then you cover that by a sheet of rubber, thin sheet of rubber, right. Then what will happen to the surface of that rubber which you are covering? Is it plane, or it is also having similar wave nature? And if similar, then why it will become curvy or wave like? Because pressure everywhere is not same, force acting on the surface is not same, right. Force everywhere is not same, distribution is different because it is going on changing. So, if you will take here, obviously pressure is more because more number of air particles are involved there, so they are giving more pressure at that point, but here relatively less, right. So, as a result what will happen? It will raise in some place and goes down in some other place. So, that is again wave nature, right. So, the surface gets modified, and here what is the boundary condition? How can you define the boundary condition for that kind of problem? Boundary means to what maximum value that variable can change. Is it arbitrary or the limitations are there? Limitations are there and they are the boundaries. Unless you understand the boundary, you can never tell that it will show like a wave, right. So, what should be the pressure? Everything you have to know. Pressure can go to what extent? So, with respect to the height, how the pressure goes on changing, there is some limitation, and that is the boundary condition, right. Variable is P, but that variable is again changing with respect to what? Height, right. So, similarly, that depends on the problem, what kind of problem you are dealing and what will be your boundary condition. If you know the problem, you should have to know also the boundary conditions, limitations, right. Then only the Laplace equation will be helpful to solve that kind of problem. So, therefore, you see, when you are solving any physical problem, there must be some boundary condition, and you should have to understand the boundary condition. It may be electrical problem, electrostatic problem, any problem in physics must have to deal with the boundary condition. Means you have to understand what is the limitations to solve that kind of problem, and that is the boundary. Within that boundary, you restrict yourself, do not go beyond that. Then only you can get a solution, otherwise not, right. If the problem is open, you can never have any solution. But when the problem has boundary, every time it has solution, and you are going to solve that kind of problem, right. All the problems are having limitations. Within the boundary only you are going to solve it to get a solution, right. So, in that way you take this example and try to get me tomorrow how will you solve 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional electrostatic problems to find out the potential using Laplacian equation. You have solved already without using Laplacian equation, right. Laplacian equation, without using Laplacian equation you have solved already for a sheet of charge, right. Same thing you can solve with the help of Laplacian equation if in 2 dimension. Then you can realize whether this is easier for me or that one is easier for me, because these are just 2 methods. This is one method and that was another method. That is actually there is no equations are involved, but you are doing it manually. If here is a point, with respect to that how much is the distance, all those things you are going on calculating, then tell yes this is the potential at that point with respect to the sheet, right. But here you are going in a different way, but ultimatum is the same, solution is the same thing. That is why Laplace equation has importance, because it will become easier provided if you know the boundary, right, provided if you know the boundary. So, try to solve this kind of problem, at least go for a sheet, thin sheet, right, like this thin sheet of charge, how to get the potential at a point with the help of Laplacian equation, 2 dimension, right. So, then one more thing I want to tell, you know, when we are dealing with electrostatics, basically you are dealing with charge, right. Electrostatics means charge at rest. Let us say this is an electron, but can this electron be at rest within the material, whatever you are considering? Really, I am asking really, reality. You are telling that here is charge or charge distribution, and with respect to this charge or charge distribution, what is the potential at a point or intensity at a point, right. Then how can you put an electron at rest? Is it feasible really? Can an electron be at rest? Can it be possible to do? Electron is a particle that you know, right. It has mass and it can go with various speeds, but that speed is controlled by what? You can control or not? If you can control, then it can bring to rest. If not, then cannot be, right. If the speed of the electron is 0, then you can tell yes it can bring to rest, but if it not 0, then cannot. Two options are there, whether you can control the speed of the electron by any means or not. Think and tell, can you control the speed of the electron to be 0, means at rest, by any way? Because you see, you have to imagine only, you can never see the electron, but try to understand the real situation I am asking, right. Electron controls everything, all the properties are originated with respect to the electron only. So, their role is very important to understand any property. So, you have to understand about those electrons, what they are and how they are going for such kind of properties. You see, when you will tell, can you tell electron is a quantum particle or classical particle? Why? Why it is quantum? Huh? Particle and particle and wave means dual. Where is the boundary that you will tell that yes I am in quantum region and or not? How can you define the boundary? De Broglie wavelength you know, let us say lambda is equal to h by p, right. These are de Broglie wavelength. So, then now tell, how can you tell that electron is a quantum particle and why? Which parameter? And if I will tell a ball of 10 gram, that is also a particle, you can take that as a particle. right? Ball of mass 10 gram can be considered as a particle, electron is also a particle, right? Then why you are telling this is quantum particle and this is not? First, tell me whether this de Broglie wavelength what you are telling is having group or phase velocity. You know about the group velocity and phase velocity? Huh? When you are telling it is a group, de Broglie wave, matter wave, what kind of velocity that will possess? Momentum means there is velocity, obviously, right? But that is wave velocity or phase velocity? They are different. Wave velocity, phase velocity is not group velocity. They are not same, and that is the difference in quantum and classical, that you can understand in that way also. In that way also you can understand, right? When this ball is moving, you can never tell it has group velocity, never, only phase velocity. But when electron is moving, you can never tell it is phase velocity, all the time group velocity. So, quantum particle all the time deals with group velocity, but classical particle all the time deals with phase velocity, right. So, then now if you tell an electron, let us say an electron is there, an atom is there, it is positive charge and this electron is revolving around this nucleus, right. So, it is a quantum problem or classical? Quantum problem. And why it is quantum then?
The energy of orbitals is quantized.
Yes, right. If the energy is quantized, then you can tell it is quantum problem. All the time energy is not quantized, but here it is quantized, so it is a quantum problem, right. And if you are telling, you know, understand about the particle in a box, the problem particle in a box. So, what is the energy equation? No, En. Why I am telling? Because the energy of that particle is all the time quantized, that is why, right. When a particle is trapped in a box, one dimensional box, let us say, then the energy of that particle is quantized, means it occurs discretely, right. So, if it occurs discretely, then what is the equation? How can you write that energy? En, n is 1, 2, 3, 4, right. 1, 2, 3, it will go as integer. Then what is the relation for this energy of that particle when it is trapped? Trapped means the boundary is very hard, it can collide, rebounds back, but can never penetrate. Then you can tell the particle is now trapped, it cannot go out, right. So, when it is trapped, then because the electron, suppose for example, you take an electron in such type of box, which is a quantum particle, right. So, obviously it is not at rest, it is moving. So, moving means it has energy, then what kind of energy it is? Then only can tell it how it is quantized, right. Electron is not at rest and that moves with a group velocity, right, it moves with a group velocity. So, when it goes with a group velocity, then it has energy. Then what kind of energy it is, whether it is continuous energy or discrete, discrete energy. Then how can you write that? What is the mathematical equation, you remember? N square S square by 8 m, right, if L is the length, width of the box, right. If L is the width of the box, m is the mass of the particle, h is Planck's constant and n is the quantum number. That is why you are telling it is discrete, because if n equal, it is n, if n is 1, n square is 1, if n is 2, 4, 3, 9 and goes on changing. So, you are getting discrete energy or not? The levels are defined now, E1, E2, E3, E4. So, the same problem is also here in this atom or different, whether it is similar problem or different problem. Now, compare with one dimensional box, particle is trapped. So, if you take an atom, it is similar problem or different problem? Why 2 dimensional, why not 3? Atom is in space. Atom is in space. So, if I will write, for example, if I will write 3 dimension, then it is Lx plus Ly plus Lz, that is all, or not. If it is 3 dimensional problem, there are 3 lines, one in x direction, another in y direction, another in z direction. So, only this is the variable, rest things are all constant, right. That is the difference, one dimension, two dimension, three dimension. So now tell, if atom is a three dimensional problem, can same thing is applicable or not? Can you treat this atom or the electron in this atom is trapped in a box, three dimensional box or not? It is trapped, and that is the reason why you are getting energy levels, but there is not visible boundary. It is visible, it is invisible, and that invisibility is the nuclear potential, right? Nuclear potential is the boundary, it will decide. Like here the boundary is well defined, there also the boundary is not that well defined, but with respect to the nuclear energy and the nuclear potential. Nucleus is there having positive charge, there is a field. So how the electron can go anywhere? Cannot. That is why they are go in different energy levels. That you are telling it is first orbit K cell, second orbit L cell, N1, N2, N3 and so on. So it is exactly similar problem that of a particle in a three dimensional box, right? Particle in a three dimensional box. So now when you are telling the electrical property with respect to the atom, right? Atom is neutral, now you know, right? Atom is neutral, but that all the time it is not, although it is neutral, but that polarity, question I told you, polarity is coming from where? When you are telling the atom is polar. All atoms are not polar, but few atoms are polar, and that polarity arises from where? Nuclear means positive charge. If both the center of mass charges are not same, then they are different, one is positive, other is negative, then that is a polar atom or polar molecule like water, right? But if they are coinciding on the same point, non-polar, right? So when it is polar, then now if you take the any atom, say let us say for example atom, then with respect to the electrical behavior, how can you tell? How can you tell that whether it will be a polar compound or non-polar compound? Sorry, atom, not compound. What will tell you that yes, this kind of atom may be a polar atom or non-polar atom? It is electrostatic problem or electric current. Electrostatic means the charge should be at rest, but here it is different. Charge is never at rest, neither the proton nor the electron, right? Neither the proton are at rest nor the electron are at rest, all are moving. So exactly it is not an electrostatic problem, but if suppose for example let us say the positive charge is at rest, right, and this electron is at rest and both are having equal charge, means that there is a positive charge here Q and here there is a negative charge same Q, quantity of charge is both same, then what kind of interaction is there between these two charges? It is electrostatic, not electrodynamics. There is no motion at all, but the two charges with equal amount are just placed away from each other, right? Then they are interacting definitely. Interaction means force, right? When there is force, there is interaction. When there is no force, no interaction. Then what kind of force is existing here? Just you take two charged bodies, one is positively charged, other is negatively charged, and quantity of charge is both same. Then how they will interact with each other? Attractive? No doubt that is attractive. So, no, why I am telling force, then when you are telling that force, then what kind of force it is? Force is again different types that you know, right? Strong force, weak force, those things are coming into picture here also. So, what kind of force is acting between these two charged bodies? Is it strong interaction? First question. Strong interaction. Interaction is force, and the limits should be well defined when you can tell it is strong, weak and electromagnetic, right. So, what kind of interaction is there between these two charged bodies? It cannot be strong, because only nuclear force is strong, right, and strong interaction means it is charge independent, it never depends on the charge, that is the peculiarity with the strong interaction, but this is never depending on the independent of charge, it depends on the charge, right. If it is same, repel, if dissimilar, then attract. So, it is never strong and never weak also. Weak means what? What kind of forces that you know which are weak? Van der Waals force, weak bond, right. So, they are not strong, not weak, in between. Then what other kind of forces are existing here? Others are electrostatic and gravitational, right? Electrostatic and gravitational, neither weak nor strong, but both electrostatic and gravitational force are simultaneously present. You cannot isolate. Because of mass there is gravitational force, because of charge there is electrostatic force. So, simultaneously both the forces are acting on both the charges. That is why, so then naturally you can tell the electrostatic force is how many times more than the, which is more stronger? Electrostatic force is all the time stronger, around 10 to the power 29 times, right? The electrostatic force is 10 to the power 29 times stronger than gravitational force. Gravitational is a very weak force in comparison to electrostatics. So, then now here if you are telling, you are writing only, then when you are telling this force, whether you are considering the gravitational force or neglecting. When you are considering the force or the electrostatic force, whether you are considering the gravitational force or neglecting. You are neglecting just like the thin sheet, because the force is so strong in comparison to gravitational force, its role is negligible, right? Its role is negligible because it is 10 to the power 29 times stronger, and that is why the strongest bond is what? Which is the strongest bond? Ionic bond, right? It is electrostatic, it is the strongest bond. Even from the covalent bond, why covalent is not stronger than electrovalent? There is also charge attraction in covalent, right? But they are not permanent between any two electrons, they are shared, continuously changing. That is why the covalent bond is never strong than that of the ionic bond. Ion means fixed between these two ions, is very, very strong, right? So, now next tomorrow we will read, but try to come with the solution of this thin sheet using Laplace equation, right? Then we will go for this imaging.